Hello and welcome. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michelle and I am taking you on a journey of my personal cptsd and skills that I have learned along the way to help me be a better version of myself. I thought it would be a really good idea to start with just explaining for those who don't know what cptsd is. Complex PTSD is when you have experienced trauma over a prolonged period of time. It could be months to years. In my case, the most traumatic years for me were from the age of about 5 to about the age 12, where I lived in extreme abuse and trauma. What it does is it debilitates a person. It shows up physically, headaches, anything from insomnia and bad dreams, or you just really, as in my case, like to sleep a lot. It is a great escape. I got to a point in my journey actually where I went from sleeping all the time to not being able to sleep to being able to sleep all the time again, to trying to find a balance and having a healthy amount of sleep. It also shows up in anger. So a person could be volatile, they could hit things, smash things, break things, throw things, scream, shout. There might really be no obvious provocation, so their behavior might not actually fit the crime. On the other side, you could have an absolute meltdown where you just cry, you have hours and hours of tears, you're highly sensitive, highly emotional, and again, the reason for it is not necessarily obvious. It shows up in having challenging relationships. You don't know who to trust, you don't know how to trust. Maybe you battle with loving others, you most certainly battle with loving yourself, and you don't know how to have a healthy relationship with people. You misjudge people, you don't trust the right people, you tend to trust the wrong people, and none of it is your fault. I'm going to explain why these things happen and tools that I have used, that I implement in my own life, that has absolutely been a game changer for me. Emotionally, what it looks like, you have emotional flashbacks. That's what leads to those meltdowns, be it an angry meltdown or a sobbing, crying, hurt meltdown. You are having an emotional flashback. In future videos, I am going to explain to you what those are, what they look like, and how they manifest to you. There are 4 trauma responses that we're all familiar with, and I'm going to do videos on each one of them. We have the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. None of them are necessarily better than the other, and no one is generally completely one or the other. We do tend to have 2 which we lean on, which we use as our way to survive, but we do tend to be a hybrid and use all of them to some form or another. You experience shame, you experience anger, you are easily offended, you are very confused about who to trust, who not to trust, what is right, what isn't right. You have a lack of assertiveness. Memory loss. Memory loss is a big thing. There are huge chunks of my childhood that I actually have no recollection of, and has taken me years to kind of pull out and delve into and look at and see and recognize. We also tend to have difficulty processing information. We tend to process information from a very wounded inner child at times, which obviously again doesn't work in our favor. Hopelessness, cutting yourself off from people, irritation, agitation. These are all things that I'm going to go through when I discuss what an inner critic is, how an inner critic works, and how that inner critic contributes to really continuing to abandon yourself and abuse yourself, at least emotionally and mentally. There are some great tools, there are some amazing resources. I speak to most fantastic people just to learn their skills, their tools, and what saved them. And as that knowledge keeps coming to me, I'm going to keep sharing it with you. Next up, I'm going to discuss with you the anger trauma response.